Hello friends. If you are a driver in the United Kingdom over the age of 60 and you have been seeing frightening posts on Facebook or YouTube claiming that new laws are about to force all older drivers into mandatory annual tests or strip away their licenses, I need you to stay for the next 15 minutes because almost everything circulating about this topic right now is factually wrong. And the few things that are true are the ones nobody is explaining clearly. The confusion comes from three directions hitting at once. Social media posts keep saying the rules kick in at 60 or 65. Headlines about mandatory eye tests read as though the law has already changed. And the word renewal sounds like a driving test when it is actually just a form. By the end of this video, you will know the correct answer to each of those questions, including whether the new eye test rule already applies to you. The answer is definitive, and it comes from the government's own consultation document, not from anything shared on social media. There is also something specific I want you to stay for. There is something your GP may legally do about your driving license right now, without telling you first, and most drivers have no idea this can happen. We will cover exactly what it means and what you can do about it. Quick context before we get into this. This video is for UK drivers aged 65 and over, and for any family member trying to help an older driver navigate confusing information. The goal is to help you understand what the actual rules require, what is genuinely changing in 2026, and what obligations, if any, you currently have. Everything here comes from the UK government's official website and the DVLA's guidance, the Department for Transport's formal consultation document published in January 2026, and the DVLA's medical conditions guidance under the Road Traffic Act. This is educational content only. It is not personalized, legal, or medical advice. And nothing here is a promise that any viewer will pass a medical review or retain their license. Everyone's situation is different, so for anything involving your specific health history or license status, speak to your GP or a licensed solicitor who knows your circumstances. I went through the DVLA's official guidance, the Department for Transport's consultation document, and the General Medical Council's published guidance on what GPs can and cannot do regarding your driving. What I found is that the fear in those viral posts is almost entirely disconnected from the actual rules, but that there are real, serious things. Drivers over 70 need to understand that most people are simply not across. We are going through 5 things today. Before we start, have you seen these viral posts and did they worry you? Drop a comment below and tell me what has been reaching you. 5, and we are starting here because this is the item that can actually work in your favor. IAM RoadSmart is the United Kingdom's leading road safety charity, and they offer 2 things worth knowing about if you are an older driver. The first is their Advanced Driver Course expert coaching sessions, a formal advanced driving test, and ongoing membership. A voluntary qualification that sits on top of your existing license rather than replacing it. The second is their Mature Driver Review, a much more informal session specifically for older drivers who want a confidence check rather than a formal examination. Think of it as a health check for your driving rather than a test. On the insurance side, IAM RoadSmart has an official partner called Corn Market that offers policies recognizing the advanced qualification. Discounts are not guaranteed and vary by insurer, but many members report savings over 2 or 3 years that comfortably exceed the course cost. Check the current pricing directly on the IAM RoadSmart website because it changes and you deserve the accurate current figure. 3, and this is where the stakes become real. Under UK law, specifically the Road Traffic Act 1988, it is a legal obligation, not a choice. A legal obligation to tell the DVLA if you develop a medical condition that could affect your driving, or if an existing condition has got worse since you last renewed. The DVLA's medical conditions guidance makes this explicit. Fail to disclose a notifiable condition, and the DVLA can impose a fine of up to £1,000. Beyond the fine, there is an insurance consequence that many people overlook. If you have an accident and your undisclosed condition may have been a factor, your insurer may refuse to pay out entirely. That is a potentially life-altering financial consequence on top of whatever happened on the road. The minimum eyesight standard for driving in the United Kingdom is being able to read a standard number plate from 20 meters. Pause and write that down. It is a benchmark you can check for yourself at any time. The conditions that carry a legal obligation to tell the DVLA include dementia, including early-stage Alzheimer's disease, epilepsy or seizures, diabetes treated with insulin where treatment has lasted or is expected to last more than 3 months. Diet-controlled diabetes is not automatically notifiable. It is specifically insulin treatment that triggers the obligation, Parkinson's disease, stroke, and with a transient ischemic attack, a mini-stroke. The rules depend on your recovery. So use the DVLA's conditions checker on the UK government's official website for your specific situation rather than any summary. Glaucoma, macular degeneration, and other conditions affecting both eyes. Heart conditions including atrial fibrillation, heart failure, and fitted pacemakers. Sleep apnea, causing excessive daytime sleepiness. And chronic neurological conditions such as multiple sclerosis. Freedom of information data from recent years shows that nearly 33,000 driving licenses were revoked or refused renewal over eyesight-related conditions, accumulated across 4 years. And it tells you the DVLA is actively reviewing cases, not simply relying on self-declaration. Did you know this obligation sits with you and not with your GP? Drop a comment below. One, and this is the one most people have completely wrong, the claim going around, that a new law requires all drivers over 65 to take mandatory annual road tests or face automatic revocation, is false. There is no such law. There never was. The UK government's official website, the actual DVLA guidance under the Road Traffic Act, states this plainly. Your driving license automatically expires on your 70th birthday. Not your 60th, not your 65th, your 70th. At that point, you apply to the DVLA to continue driving. The renewal is completely free. There is no road test. There is no written exam. You make a self-declaration confirming that you still meet the eyesight standard and declaring any medical conditions. If no concerns are flagged, the DVLA issues a fresh license covering the next 3 years. And after that, you renew every 3 years for the rest of your driving life. There is no upper age limit for driving in the United Kingdom. If you meet the medical and eyesight standards, you can hold a license indefinitely. When you see posts claiming the rules kick in, before 70, scroll past them. Let me give you a scenario that shows why the declaration obligation matters far more than most people expect. George is a composite, a realistic scenario based on how the DVLA's medical review process actually works, not a specific individual. Retired, 73 Yorkshire. Diagnosed with atrial fibrillation at 71. His GP monitored it. He assumed, as many people do, that if the diagnosis needed to go anywhere officially, his doctor would handle it. When George came to renew at 73, he declared the atrial fibrillation for the first time. His license was suspended while the DVLA conducted a formal medical review. 3 months passed without being able to drive. When the review cleared him, he got his license back. But those 3 months could have been avoided entirely. Had he notified the DVLA at the time of diagnosis, the review would have happened then, and he would have known his status far sooner. George's mistake, and it is one the DVLA's guidance is completely clear about, was assuming that notification was someone else's job. 4, and this is the open loop I planted at the start. Under guidance from the General Medical Council, the body that regulates doctors in the United Kingdom, your GP does not currently have an automatic legal obligation to notify the DVLA about your medical conditions on your behalf. That obligation sits with you. However, if your GP believes you have a condition that makes it unsafe for you to drive, and you refuse to stop driving or to tell the DVLA yourself, your GP can. And in some circumstances, must contact the DVLA directly to report their concern. When that happens, it triggers a formal medical review. The DVLA will write to you requesting further information. Sometimes a questionnaire from your GP, sometimes an independent assessment. You are not immediately losing your license. But if you ignore that letter or fail to respond within the time frame given, your license can be revoked as a consequence of not responding. Not because of a medical finding, simply because you did not reply. Here are 2 questions worth asking your GP at your next appointment, and I want you to pause and write these down. 1, am I required to report this condition to the DVLA myself? 2, have you already made any contact with the DVLA about my driving? Those 2 questions give you the information you need before any letter arrives. 2, the eye test question. the one most of you actually came here to answer. Here is the definitive answer as of the date this video was made. There is no mandatory eye test required for UK drivers over 70 at license renewal. The self-declaration system is still in place. The Department for Transport launched a formal consultation in January 2026 on exactly this question: whether drivers aged 70 and over should undergo mandatory vision testing at every 3-year renewal. That consultation ran until the 11th of May 2026. As of the time this video was made, the outcome had not been formally announced. No legislation had been passed, and no new law was in force. Road safety and optometry organizations submitted responses strongly supporting mandatory testing. And the Department for Transport's own language made clear this was a question of how and when, rather than whether. If it leads to a rule change, which formal respondents widely expect, drivers over 70 would need an actual optician's test at renewal rather than a self-declaration box. The standard under discussion is the same minimum that already applies. The ability to read a number plate from 20 meters, which is 612 visual acuity on the Snellen scale. It is not a new bar. It is the bar you are already supposed to meet. If you are approaching 70 or already past it, booking an optician appointment now is sensible preparation regardless. Not because you must, because knowing your own eyesight status is information worth having. And early detection of any condition gives you the maximum time to address it and keep driving. Here is the full picture. IAM RoadSmart offers the Advanced Driver Course and the Mature Driver Review. Check the website for current pricing and verify any insurance saving with CoreMarket and your insurer. It is a legal obligation under the Road Traffic Act to tell the DVLA about notifiable conditions. The fine is up to £1,000, and the insurance consequences can be far more serious. Use the DVLA's conditions checker on the official UK government website to verify your specific situation. Your license expires at 70. The renewal is free. There is no road test. And there is no upper age limit for driving in the United Kingdom. Your GP can contact the DVLA directly under General Medical Council guidance. If a review letter arrives, respond within the time frame. And the mandatory eye test is not yet law. The consultation closed in May. The outcome has not been announced. The self-declaration is still in place. 3 steps before you go. First, use the DVLA's conditions checker on the UK government's official website. Type in your specific condition and get the current rules for your exact situation. Second, book an optician appointment if you have not had one recently, whatever the consultation eventually decides. Third, before any major decision about your license, whether to declare a condition, respond to a review letter or appeal, speak to your GP and, if needed, a licensed solicitor who specializes in road traffic law. If you have a parent, a sibling, or a friend over 70 who has been frightened by the posts going around, share this video with them. The combination of age confusion and missing context in most of what is circulating has caused a great deal of unnecessary anxiety, and they deserve to know what the rules actually say. The consultation outcome, when it is formally announced, will change what is required of every driver over 70 in Great Britain. Subscribe and turn on the bell. I will cover exactly what it means step by step the moment it lands.